So let's all rise. Is cameraman ready? Pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome to everybody out there in the audience and TV land. Today's August 14th, and it's the regular monthly Village of Reddick board meeting. We have myself and 3 trustees, and filling in tonight, Ari Drews, our assistant to the clerk. Cindy's off on vacation and stalling a little bit. I don't know where the 5th trustee is.
4th trustee.
Well, 5th of the board, 4th trustee. He's we'll have to ad lib and read his reports if he's not making it. But that being said, we'll start with our normal routine. We had 2 meetings in July 10th and July 20th. We've circulated the minutes, I've reviewed them and made some additions and so forth, but anybody else have any other additions, alterations, or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept those minutes as submitted?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Like we said, Cindy's out of town, but she did leave the treasurer's report for all of us. Let me just get to that myself. I'll read through it, but as far as account balances, we have gone below the $1 million balance that we were looking at last month, but that's normal because we spend money each month. The general fund balance is $934,193. Water fund, $170,812. Trust and agency, $32,146. Materials management, $8,404. Petty cash, $32. Village green, $4,137. Hard scrabble, $13,729. Health insurance balance, $6,372. Capital project, 0, which is okay. There's no money at this point being moved through that account. As far as expenses, you'll see some pretty hefty numbers there. General fund was $358,000 monthly expenses. Water fund, $28,340. Trust and agency, $32,146. Materials management, $4,462. As far as she did attach her printouts, and we are circulating the vouchers. I know I put them to my left. I don't know if Jen got to them.
With them.
You set? Okay, that's good. We'll get them down to Jay eventually. But if you could look through the breakout pages, I know we did make the $60,000 payment to the Reddick Fire Company, and then a $2,000, which was that 2% increase payments. That's like $62,000 of that $358,000. Generally, we ask her. It's a little bit heavier of a number. It is. I know Friday when I'm in, I'll look at specifics too, but it makes sense to me. And we can see Hardscrabble building with some sponsors coming in, sponsor money now and different things. So that's going up. But the trend looks okay. And I would offer a motion that the Treasury report be accepted as presented.
So moved.
All in
Second.
favor?
I got a question.
Discussion, okay.
As far as doing budget adjustments for last fiscal year,
Yeah.
are all the bills, are they in at this point? So we could start looking at different other budget lines that perhaps need help, or reserve accounts that could be added
Yeah.
to?
Yeah, Brent, I have the same question. I've been away for 2 Thursdays back to back. As you know, we're working on the AUD, which is our annual update that we give to the controller's office. And what we could do is our controller comes in Thursday, so I'll see where we're at. We have a September 30th deadline to get our AUD in, so sometime between now and that, we'll have, what he's talking about, we have to make certain budget adjustments once the final bills and everything are in, so we'll be doing that, but we'll talk to her Thursday.
Right.
So we got held up in between there. We were discussing something on the Treasury report. I would, we had a motion, a second up to accept it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What we could do, in line with some new process, we told the fire company they could come in. Are here to talk a little bit about the monthly report or anything in particular. We don't want to keep you here too long. We offered if you want to come in and come out. Or I don't know what's on your mind or.
Well, I just came to give you a report on our calls for
Yeah,
the
the
month
mic.
of July.
Okay, Rob, we just have to refresh our brain that we, give a second to come live. If you want to stand by the podium, you can say who you are, Rob. Before you introduce yourself, we were just doing our treasurer's report, and we did say that we cut the $60,000 check and the $2,000, I'm rounding a number on a $2,000 for the retro 2000. I presume that hit your coffers already and so forth, but it was done like 2 or 3 weeks ago or so.
Yes, we did receive the check.
And in line with one new process we were forging ahead with, we asked the fire company, instead of coming in every 2 years and talking to us, to come in and give us an update on what's in their mind and give us some numbers on runs and reports and different things, just so we can all be familiar with it, the audience, us, and get an interaction that works really well. So go ahead, Rob.
So I'm Robert Fry with the Red Hook Fire Company. We had 84 calls in the month of July. 44 of those calls were EMS calls, and 40 of those were fire calls. So, that's just a basic report.
So 84, and there's 31 days, so it's 2.5 plus or minus per day, somewhere in that range.
Yeah,
And is that for the town or for the village or?
That's everybody.
that's for
For the
the
whole-
entire
okay.
district, yes.
Good, because what we're looking at is they do have computer reports and things, and we thought it'd be good for everybody to know that. So 2.5 per day that the volunteers are rolling out on, and anything major or?
Not that I can remember
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
Good.
we like that. We hope our fire codes and smoke alarms and things keep it from getting to where it's real bad, but it's, yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming in, and like we promised you guys, we wouldn't want to make you wait too long, so unless you want to hang out, you're free to head
I
on
don't
out.
see that on your face.
I brought my water just in case. You never know.
For a long speech? No. Thanks,
Thank
Rob.
you.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Okay. Let's see, in line with reports of EMS-type folks, I'll do the police report. For the month of July, some gross numbers are incidents, 277. The breakout is in the village of Red Hook, 196. The town of Red Hook, 72. Tivoli had 9. As far as tickets written, 153. It breaks out 98 in the village of Red Hook. 4 of those are parking tickets, and 55 are town of Red Hook. Arrests were 22. Breaks out 13 in the village of Red Hook and 9 in the town of Red Hook. And let's see, Mr. Trustee Trapp, are you in the pages of your report there? Can you,
Yes, sir.
you want to go there next? Okay.
First, I'd like to say that I went, and I had the good fortune to attend some presentations at Locust Grove presented by New York Planning Federation and the Association of Towns on August 7th. And the first two were pretty interesting here. First one were ethical considerations in planning and zoning decision-making. I'll give this to Lara so she can make copies and distribute it as necessary. You know, recusal and ethical decisions about, you know, whether to pass judgment upon your neighbor and things like this. So this is kind of cool. The second part is something that I think we're going to get involved with a little bit at the Dutchess County Planning Federation Board of Directors. This was a seeker overview. Seeker is changing again, so this year there'll be some updates to seeker. They're not going to be overly dramatic. They're going to change some of the classification of actions, type 1, type 2, unlisted, things like that. So we're going to pay attention a little bit more. They're going to change something that we haven't really had to deal with a lot, pause decking and the requirements in draft environmental impact statements and scoping sessions and things like that. But should we do so, there are going to be some changes to it, and so I'll make this available to Lara so that she can create some copies and distribute them as necessary. That being said, the Planning Federation, we haven't quite made all of our decisions yet for the fall classes, but we're working on 3 classes. A couple of them are going to be presented by the Department of State, who gives you a huge list of classes to go through. And so we're gonna do our final considerations in about 2 weeks, and then schedule all the classes, and they'll all be at Millbrook again. Same deal, $5, food, couple hours, that sort of thing. So they should be fun. I wish I could remember what they were, but I got lost in the midst of our conversations, but I'll move on to the trustee report at this point. We had 3 building permits issued, 4 certificates of occupancy were issued, 5 certificates of compliance were issued, and 5 municipal searches were conducted. And 5 orders to remedy were issued, abandoned vehicles, property maintenance, and things like that. And just for the record, in New York State Building Code, you are not allowed to have 1 unlicensed vehicle on your property. You can have 0 of those. It used to be some codes say you can have 1 or 2 or something, but you can't have a code that's less stringent, only more so. You can't get more stringent than none. So 0 is the number for that particular process there. And I mean, there are some issues that Willie was talking property maintenance. They go into rubbish and garbage and grass heights and things like that. And some of those things can be a little bit sticky to start enforcing. Well, your grass is taller than a foot, so you need to, you get a citation. But be that as it may, the planning board had 3 items of business in front of them: site plan, subdivision, and site plan. And approval for the 2 site plans were made, and approval for the maintenance, the subdivision. And I think that was Morgan's Way, down up that direction. So, and the ZBA had no agenda, and the money tendered for the past month was $1,325 from the building department. So,
And Jay, I had a
sir.
question here. On the first part of the report, building permits issued, there are 5 items listed, but the number's 3. Is that a mistyping there, or just,
I think that's
it should be a
a
5?
mistype. Should be a 5.
Yeah, it looks like a typo to me. Because it lists 5
That is
separate
correct,
properties.
yep.
It's,
Let's see if they're listed over here.
2 things that are quasi-related. Today, I was on 2 weeks vacation, came back today, and there's another house sale in the village on Church Street area, and it's a young couple coming to Red Hook. They work in Poughkeepsie, and one works up north, and they picked Red Hook deliberately for the reasons we all work for, the viable, vibrant village and the proximity to their work, and then also the school system. But they had researched us online, they had seen our pattern book, they had done things that were looking at all the tasks and things we've been doing for the past 6 years. It was pretty interesting. Harry was there, and again, friendly. So we didn't get him on any committees yet, but I'll have to work on that next. I did pitch him. Unfortunately, he decided to buy the non-materials management program.
come on.
So I told him he should cancel that subscription to the outside private haulers and get with the program, but anyway.
And just for the record, something, as I go through our zoning code, there are probably a couple of thousand things that we should change in there, but one of them, when it talks about garbage, it says that you should use garbage bags with the village imprint stamped
Right,
stamped
yeah.
on the bag, so
Yeah.
we should probably look at the
Yeah,
tags.
it's one of those
Such.
things. Yeah, it's true. And more in that world, I thought you were going to head, we had a pretty good enforcement case on Garden Street. I was off on vacation and was working a little bit remotely, but a bank evicted somebody who hadn't been alive for about 2 years, but in that world, eviction means taking all the personal property and essentially throwing it out in the front lawn. And we noticed it happening and got our planning and enforcement people and building enforcement people on it. And with our lawyers and things, worked it out. And we ended up having to send in our highway crews, and we kept track of our machine and man hours, and we're going to bill back to the lawyer for the bank and so forth. But it looks like what happens is the sheriff puts up an eviction notice, and if nobody's there, the part B is take the contents out, put them on the curb. And it's like, okay, but if the person's dead and there's no heirs, no anything, like, where's it going to go? And it took us a little bit. At first, the bank was cooperative, and they were sending in a, quote, private crew to do it, but they didn't do it on the day they said, so we pulled the trigger and did it ourselves and kept track of it. So that was interesting. And then on the same street, another property went for sale, and it sold in 10 days in the village of Red Hook. And I was like, wow.
It's a cute house.
Yeah, but it's amazing to me. But even the one on Church Street with this young couple that I met today, that was only up for, what, a month or two? That wasn't for sale long. It was, so we're in demand, which is good. Thank you, Jay, for your report.
You bet.
Let's see, maybe we could go to Ms. Norris. Do you want to go into your world?
Speaking of garbage, we may as well start with that.
Okay.
Sorry, materials management, we don't
Right.
call it garbage anymore. For the month of July, we sold $3,940.25 in garbage tags and paid out $1,370.28. We had 6.02 tons of single-stream recycling and 11.81 tons of garbage. So they're pretty good numbers for July. Events, we've got, well, this past weekend, we had the 6th annual community potluck and concert in the park. It unfortunately couldn't be in the park because the weather was iffy. We moved it to the community center, which if you haven't checked out yet, it's an amazing resource, and I thank them so much for being a backup plan, because otherwise we would have had to cancel it outright. So thank them profusely for that. They are open, I believe, every day with events and programs for all age groups. And it's an absolutely great resource for the village and town. And again, we could not have done that event without them. Speaking of events, our big one's coming up. Full steam ahead, Hard Scrabble Day, Saturday, September 16th. Vendors, food, kids events, music all day, and parade at 4, or is it 4:30?
We picked 4:30.
Okay, that's why I left a little
Okay.
dot because I wasn't 100% sure. I think we did change it. Our main stage entertainment this year is kind of New Orleans themed. We have the New Orleans Suspects, and then the main act is the Funky Meters. For more information or to become a vendor, go to hardscrabbleday.org. We do also have more or less expensive slots to be a vendor. So if you've wanted to be a vendor for a while but didn't want to pay our fee, we have $20 spots at Key Bank Lawn and also Memorial Park. So if you wanted to do that, it's something new this year. The library continues with programs just about every day. In addition to books and DVDs and music, they now have sewing machines and microscopes that you can take out for circulation. Of note, there's a screening of The Farthest Voyager in Space this Friday at 6:30 at the aforementioned community center. And that's in preparation for the solar eclipse, which will be this coming Monday. They're going to have a viewing party at the middle school from 12 to 3, and they will be providing solar glasses for that. And that event is also free. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Jan, just a question. I mean, for me and my crew, any idea on any particular contract riders for the band? Anything that we should be aware of for the
Green
day?
Skittles only.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
I heard Popeye's chicken at one point. Was that something? I don't know whether that's for real or not.
No, it's true. What Jay's asking, he rounds up a crew of scary individuals to be security for the bands. And he needs to be aware of if they have any quirky demands or anything. This year, with 2 bands, it's just a little more work for Jay's team, but no, and it's true, there was, when you read the rider, there was a Popeye, they wanted a fried chicken, but from Popeyes, so we had to scratch that out. There's no Popeyes in Red Hook, and we don't really expect one to come to Red Hook.
So Nabil going to whip up some fried chicken for him?
Yeah, we got Nabil over there, we'll do a little fried chicken. But, yeah, we can relook at that too for you, Jay, to keep you advised.
Brady?
Let's see. Thank you, Jen.
Yep.
Since Mr. Trustee Lang has not appeared, I'll head for the water report. Just want to paraphrase it myself here. It looks like during the month of July, the treatment plant processed 6.323 million gallons of water, which is an average daily rate of 203,000 gallons. In the prior year, the same plant treated 7.7 gallons, which was an average daily rate of 247,000 gallons per day. So it does look like those improvements we were seeing, even though these numbers are a little higher, the prior months were like 192, 195, as I recall. It's a little higher, but it could be people watering lawns or something here. But it still is quite a bit lower than the average day a year ago, so that's good. They talk about how much liquid hypochlorite solution they used, 60 gallons, which is a rate of 1.93 gallons per day. And as is required, 3 samples were sent off to Smith Environmental Laboratory for bacteriological testing, and all 3 returned with a negative result, which really means it's a positive thing to get a negative result. So.
We had, what day was that, Ari? We had a gentleman in the office that was curious about the regularity of the testing and what it was tested for, and that
Friday.
he was considering foiling because he was very curious about everything. So don't be surprised if you see one come across the desk.
Okay, on that, I don't know if he's listening on television. I don't think he's in the audience. They would have said it was one of you guys. But we do comply with every test and requirement there is out there. We do have the annual report on our website, so if that person wants to look there. And then certain tests are every 3 years, every 5 years, and every 10 years after that. And they're all guided and directed by DOH regulation. And being a municipality, we take them seriously and we comply with the regulations, so.
And we shared that with him at that point, and he was
Good.
little reluctant to buy our explanation. So he said, we explained foil and offered up a foil request, so if it shows up, then that's what it's about.
Good. Let's see. So it looks like we're ready for Mr. Deputy Mayor Kowalczyk. Ready?
Yes, sir. Start with the Village Green Committee's monthly report. The current balances of the Village Green Committee's related budget accounts are as follows. Community beautification, we have $4,000. Shade tree contractual, $1,500. We've been removing quite a few trees this year, so that budget line is pretty much defunct. The Village Green Committee checking account is $4,136.88. There was a Village Green Committee meeting held on July 26th in the Red Hook Village Building. We reviewed the list of trees that have or will soon be removed for possible fall planting sites. We reviewed possible locations for new trees in neighborhood and business districts. We discussed the current Village Green Committee officers' participation and future appointments. We also discussed removing the gators on recently planted trees that are not being kept in service by the adjoining property owner. And the Village Green Committee may have access to some copper beech seedlings. A private resident in the village has offered to raise the seedlings until they are mature enough to be transplanted on selected sites within the village. The seedlings, if available, will be ready to remove from their current locations to the private residents in the fall. So we have to wait till they're more or less dormant to try to replace it.
Can you describe why a copper beech seedling is interesting? Or
There, in the past, historically, there's been a lot of copper beech in the village of Red Hooks, and they're beautiful trees, and if given the space and the time to mature, they're fantastic trees. So there are two that are really prominent on West Market Street that we may have access to some of the seedlings there. So We're- there was one in the old CVS parking lot about 25 years ago. And unfortunately, we did receive a letter of resignation by one of our Village Green Committee officers. Juliana Pearson will be resigning from the committee. She's moving to Boston for employment opportunities, so we accept her resignation, I think, and regretfully we'll move on and hopefully reappoint a new member of the Village Green Committee.
You had a suggestion, we'll do that later, but you have somebody.
Yeah, yeah. The Village Red Hook Highway Department monthly report. The Village Highway Department is currently picking up lawn, debris, and brush every first and third Monday as their schedule permits. And again, residents are reminded to place the lawn debris curbside and place the brush, lawn debris, and grass clippings in separate piles. And please store the debris out of sight until the scheduled pickup dates to prevent conflicts with other village services and to keep the streets clean and free of debris. And please limit the size of the piles to no bigger than 6 feet by 6 feet by 6 feet. And then with tree limbs and branches no larger than 8 inches in diameter. The village received the memo from the New York State DOT on July 17th. The next appropriation reimbursements are scheduled to be made on September 15th. This is for CHIPS. Request from the state fiscal year 2017-18 Consolidated Highway Improvement Program, Pave New York, and the extreme winter weather recovery appropriation apportionments for the September payment must be for the expenditures on or after April 1st and through July 31st. So with all the appropriations that we have, the current reading total is $77,158.45. And we also received 2 reimbursements from the DOT totaling $36,773. And so we are pretty close actually to hitting almost exactly the number that we appropriated for our fiscal year. So
52.8 number.
yeah, we have 51,575.75, so that's good news. New catch basins and drop boxes have been installed at the intersections of Ludlow and Fraley Street and Prince Street and Church Street and on a driveway on Church Street. And the village is investigating financing options for a new truck to replace the existing large dump truck, which is on its last legs. Estimates from dealers with state contracts for municipal purchases are forthcoming, and we have received one and a revised revision of that as well. So that's trying to get the price down a little bit more. We're still looking at the best price. No scrap metal was sold during the month of July. Total revenue generated to date for fiscal year 2017 and 18 is $597.60. Since inception of the scrap metal recycling program in September of 2007, $22,809.17 has been generated. And proceeds from this program go toward the purchase of tools and equipment for the village highway, water, and materials management departments. Any business or residents interested in donating scrap metal can contact the highway department or the village clerk's office, and the highway department personnel will assist property owners by picking up scrap metal upon request. So I think I submitted with the report the DOT breakdown. The Intermunicipal Task Force and the Red Hook Infrastructure Monthly Report, the Red Hook Sewer Project meetings were held on July 7th, 14th, and 21st in the Red Hook Village Building. We received the plans from Morrison Associates of easements, which are the water, storm drainage, and sewer, that the village will assume upon financial acceptance of the existing treatment and land conveyance from the Red Hook Commons and the Red Hook Commons Sewage Works Corporation. A meeting was held with the Dutchess County Department of Health on July 7th in the Red Hook Village Building. We met with 2 members of the Department of Health, plus our engineer, Ed, and myself attended. We reviewed New York State municipal law for villages, reviewed the history of the map plan and report, and acceptance by the New York State DOH, New York State DEC, and New York State EFC. Unfortunately, these agencies were not obligated to review this report, and therefore will not be reviewing the Red Hook Village Sewer Projects Map Plan Report. The DEC did refer the request for review to the Dutchess County Department of Health, which did review it, and I believe we did receive positive confirmation that they accepted the map plan report. The New York State EFC, Environmental Facilities Corporation, the USDA Rural Development will be reviewing the engineering documents. Dutchess County Department of Health will review the map plan report and detailed engineering documents as per the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation referral. The DOH from Dutchess County did request additional documentation for the map plan report, including the secret determination, proof of conformance with separate requirements for noise and odor, flood plan, a list of different things. So I think we've accommodated all the requests, and we also toured the existing Red Hook Commons Sewage Works Corporation treatment plant and grounds when we were here. Also, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation did an inspection at the Red Hook Commons Sewage Works Corporation at the request of the Dutchess County Department of Health. We forwarded a lot of documents to Department of Health of the county as per the request. Progress construction documents were sent to CT Mail Associate Engineers Ryan Biggs, Clark Davis Engineering Surveying for easement map preparation. So each property within the service area, separate easement will be prepared with a map of their property where the treatment, the septic tank, the laterals, and the main will be located on their property. So those are being prepared by CT Mail's associate engineers. We researched and discussed the Department of Health's questions regarding provisions in the New York State design standards for intermediate-sized wastewater treatment systems, regarding some things that they had looked at and wanted us to comply with, if applicable. There's a lot of documentation, so I'll finish up on the sewer by saying that there was a conference call on July 21st with Morris Associates and Connie Realty Group to talk about the neighborhood mixed-use bulk regs, possible future connections of new developments outside the boundaries of the village, including provisions in the proposed sewer use law regarding district formation and the maintenance of treatment plant surplus capacity, legal agreements and options for the conveyance of the property in the treatment plant, and forthcoming approval for water and sewer extensions by the Dutchess County Department of Health for subdivision approval by the Red Hook Village Planning Board. On the Red Hook Water Project, meetings were held on July 7th, 14th, and 21st. We submitted a lot of forms for reimbursement, both to the Environmental Facilities Corporation and Rural Development. We did, for the record, the village board did accept phase 2 as final completion on that back on July 10th. And we received all the final documents from our prime general contractor and still awaiting few of the final documents, which include release of liens primarily from our prime electric contractor, and we're hoping to close on that loan from USDA shortly. A lot of other requirements, and the full list of stuff will be in the monthly report and available online. The 2015 Community Development Block Grant, the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development. Finally, I signed the requisition. We
Yeah,
did
thanks.
receive final payment of little over $11,000 for the remaining balance of the reimbursement for that project, which included a new sidewalk at the firehouse and sidewalk restoration in front of Coburn Laundry. So that's all been taken care of and reimbursed and done. There are quite a few Red Hook water projects that will be starting up shortly. There'll be some water system repairs made at Coburn's Laundry. Estimates for directional drilling, labor, and materials are being prepared by CT Mail. A new water connection will be installed on North Broadway at the Cookingham property, and estimates are also forthcoming. And a former water main will be disconnected on Garden Street, and we're still waiting for estimates on that. And then an existing lateral to main connection and repaving on a section of Benner Road. I believe there's 8 connections we have to make on that. If we have the time and money this year, we'll get onto that. The FAST grant, the installation of solar-powered, push-button activated mid-block crosswalk signals, which originally were submitted as a community development block grant. We did get another grant that will be administered by the New York State DOT. And according to Dutchess County Transportation Council, this work will probably occur sooner than later. They have it scheduled for 2019, but hopefully we'll get it in sooner. The Village to Village Trail, the Village of Red Hook submitted invoices, check stubs, and vouchers to the Red Hook Town Trail Committee for proof of the village's matching obligation to install sharrows, which are shared bike, car, and street use on Prince Street from Church Street to South Broadway, and on Church Street as well from West Market to Prince Street. I think Ed will talk about a little bit more on the Amherst Drive Firehouse Lane intersection. You want me to skip this, or?
Hey, go ahead. We'll
We did, Ed and I meet on Fridays, and a conference call was held on July 21st with Mark DeBold, who is the, I don't know what his title is, but he's with the Dutchess County Transportation Council. And so we basically reviewed existing plans, costs, and logistics of straightening or aligning the intersection and installing a single traffic control light. We also discussed alternate solutions, including keeping streets as existing and adding multiple staggered lights, right in and right out directional ingress, egress at Old Farm Road, various other solutions, and Mark DeBold will initiate a conversation with the DOT project planning manager to review existing and alternative options to consider. And we were notified by Dutchess County Transportation Council we'll be doing a traffic count on Amherst and Firehouse Lane in preparation for our meeting with DOT. FEMA disaster declaration. Governor Cuomo announced a major disaster declaration for 28 counties across the state of New York due to the significant snowstorm known as Winter Storm Stella that occurred from March 14th through March 15th. With this declaration, there will be an opportunity for reimbursement for storm-related expenses. The mayor has submitted a spreadsheet of actual costs incurred by the village to remove snow from local streets and the general business district in the amount of $26,000. And Dutchess County and the New York State Office of Emergency Management will be corresponding with the village on how the reimbursement process will work moving forward. And that will be great news because we did go a little bit over budget on the snow this year because of that storm. And we also, on our Friday meetings, we're talking about the 2016 Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Rebate Program. So we did have a conference call with CT Mail up in Latham, who are preparing drawings and estimates for us. And the village received a $16,000 grant from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation with a village matching obligation of $4,000 to install an electric vehicle charging station in the Red Hook Municipal parking lot. So there'll actually be 2 charging stations, 1 apparatus, but 2 stations. So that'll go hand in hand with, I guess, the some of the grant money that we received from Assemblyman Cahill as well. CT Mail is preparing construction drawings and specs for the bid administration quote solicitation. And the anticipated completion date for this EV charging station is anticipated to be in October of 2017, so after a hard travel day. The Consolidated Funding Application, or CFA, for the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation Green Innovation Grant Program. The Village of Red Hook submitted a CFA for the amount of $327,600. The grant award will be used, if awarded, will be used to reconstruct the Red Hook Village municipal parking lot. The reconstruction will take advantage of green infrastructure, including porous pavement, bioretention, and vegetative treatment of runoff with stormwater trees. This project will improve the village's municipal parking lot, benefiting the central business district, community events, and the groundwater aquifer that provides for the village's water supply. And on the intermunicipal task force, the task force met on July 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th. And we are currently reviewing draft provisions to the Red Hook Town zoning law to permit small and medium-sized solar energy systems as accessory uses, and by adding review and approval provisions for the permitting of large solar energy systems in the town of Red Hook. And we also reviewed revised provisions for the permitting of food trucks, push carts, and stands in certain zoning districts in the town of Red Hook. That's a long report.
I had a couple of questions, maybe taking the last first. When you report on the intermunicipal task force, that's a town committee, so he's referencing town zoning changes. Where, when you say review and revised provisions for food truck permits in certain zoning districts, how does that impact the village in any shape or form?
It doesn't. So we're looking at, what is, there's a couple of food trucks that are not really food trucks, but stands that are around, one at Gregg Farm and one at Hardeman Farm. Bubby's has a stand there, and there's a couple of food trucks that are parked, so there's provisions where these could be located, how far back from the road, on private property with permission from the property owners,
So they wouldn't.
limitations on signage and different things. So it's a town provision. It really doesn't have much impact on there. One of the permitted districts would be the TND. And there's special provisions for celebrations or events where they have multiple food trucks appearing. So this is something that the zoning review committee worked on first and then submitted to the task force for final draft and improvement, and then with legal counsel as well. So
Then quasi-related, like I said, I was away, but the first Friday of August came through. I know where the merchants had set up.
Yep.
You Phil said, I remember it was like the car show.
The
I call it
first-
car show, but it was
the first Friday was a classic this month, yeah, and so there were classic cars. There's some older antique cars, some more contemporary of our childhood, of our youth, muscle cars and stuff, parked on the streets. And actually, we got to taste test some of Yum Yum Noodles. They had a food truck there, so kind of a preamble to what to expect from the new restaurant coming in.
Stuff, isn't it?
It was very good stuff. So there's a lot of people there, and the buzz is now is that people are anticipating, expecting, and actually looking forward to attending the first Fridays of the month that the merchants committees are doing. So if you haven't been to one, show up. It's kind of fun, and a lot of the businesses, most of the businesses stay open till 9 o'clock on the Friday, and some have special events within their stores. Some have food, entertainment, that kind of thing. So it's just a way of getting people out in the street and into the businesses. So it's fun.
sounded good. I was off checking out the competition and where I was on vacation, but a lot of places do similar things, but ours are just as good.
It's picking up steam, so it's
Yeah, it
a
was
good
good. I think
thing.
the first one was what, April, which is a little dark, a little
Yeah.
cold. May was a little better, June, and I figure August is good. People are
Yeah.
it's light, it's warm.
Planning on doing it year-round?
I think from what the people I've been speaking with, I know they're going to take it probably through October. Maybe later, we'll see how it goes. But they're trying to do something different every month, and to keep the interest alive and provoked, and it's good. It was fun.
Back to more science or process things.
Mm-hmm.
In page 1 of your Red Hook Sewer project, just to restate, our board did ratify the map plan report, and then Brent in his reports there, he lists the agencies that have to review or not review. And then it ended up with Dutchess County DOH, and like he says in his review there, they came up, toured the site, and then within 2 or 3 weeks, we did get a formal acceptance of the map plan report, so that is behind us. Last meeting, we did we have to create and endorse and pass our own local sewer law, and we did set a public hearing for the September meeting of that. That is still being worked on as far as the wording and the text, and we're optimistically, I hope we can get it reviewed and in front of everybody for timeframes that we need. So we'll leave that as we said it in the last meeting, but we'll have to keep pushing lawyers and engineers on that.
It's a 41-page document, so the list of what to put down the toilet and what's restricted and maintenance and costs, and it's how to expand systems in the village or outside of the village. So it's very extensive, and CT Mills Associate Engineers, who were the engineers of the Hillsdale sewage sewer system, and also the Kinderhook, the village of Kinderhook system, are very helpful with their experience and have learned from, those two projects to really help us out quite a bit. So their involvement has really been an asset toward the project.
And one other thing, in one of his pieces of the report, he mentioned our review of a potential new heavier highway snowplow truck. And we had put together some models, financial models, based on what we were told by Foreman Dan Stribe and a salesperson that was with him. What Brent alluded to is some numbers came in that are strikingly higher than what we were projected. So essentially, that financial model, we thought we could do something with what we had there. But so what I plan to do is sit Friday with Dan Stribe and just go over what's different and why. And it quite frankly is strikingly different, like I said. And I think we're going to have to rethink something there. But anyway, so I think we hit the department and committee reports.
I got one more.
Oh, I thought I'd cut you off and you would forget that one. Okay, go ahead.
It's a short one.
I know.
The Community Preservation Fund Advisory Board, which I'm a member of, there were no CPF Advisory Board meetings held during the month of July. The current balance of the Community Preservation Fund as of July 31st is $841,643.15. There were no ZRC, Zoning Review Committee meetings. I'm a member of that. It's a town committee. No meetings held in the month of July. And the Saltkill Watershed Community, which I'm a member of, there was a meeting held on July 19th at Bard College. Gretchen Stevens, director of Hudsonia's Biodiversity Resources Center, conducted a walking tour of one of the dams along the Saltkill to learn more about the processes behind determining the next step for this historical stream barrier. I think that's it. That is it.
All right, let's see. We could do, in regular business, we have item 1 there, LED street lighting. It's just more of a reference. We've been talking about it at some workshops and some of our main meetings. Right now, there are 6 communities interested in working together. This is where we would form a consortium and buy in bulk format LED lights, but lights that we would select as far as Kelvin intensity, degree of intensity. And the communities are the town of Red Hook, the village of Red Hook, village of Tivoli, then across the river, the 2 new pulses, meaning town and village of, and then town of Rosendale. One of the thoughts is we'd buy in bulk and then install them with a contracted installer / maintenance firm. The point being, nobody really wants to have their own highway department or DPW folks in bucket trucks installing and changing lights. So the town is offered as lead to do an RFP draft to pick an electrician, essentially, who I think would do this kind of work. Today I was looking at the RFP. It's 60 pages long. I'm thinking, if I'm an electrician, I don't know if I'd even be able to read 60 pages of RFP. I know I'm looking at Jay, he and I, yeah, we've crafted some of our own for different things, but we never hit 60 pages.
That's, I'm not sure what all you would put in there to reach 60 pages.
Yeah, it's,
It's a lot of municipalities, both municipalities in Ulster County and Dutchess County are involved, so I don't know what it would involve either, but
I was like,
there's 7 municipalities?
6.
6.
This is hard format, they've got it like doubled up and things, but I started to read it, and then I figured, well, how much reading do I have to do here? I'm going fast on purpose, just show the size of this document.
Is it prepared by the town?
Apparently, town council and town. I'm like, I don't know. So, you know, to me, it would like preclude, yeah, I'm thinking like the Hitchcock and companies, those kind of local people would be wanting to do this, and maybe they have the capacity. I think you need a law firm to help you read this thing. But I could forward it to you guys digitally. I don't want to print it or anything, but
Did you, I mean, scan it enough to see if, because, I mean, as you were flipping through, I saw the town, the town, the town, the town, the town, the town. Is there anything that relates to the village in there? Is there a section for the New Paltz Village and the?
well, the concept is that we would, up here, see what I'm pointing here, like,
Yeah,
we would morph it to what we needed, but I don't know what you call, I'm scanning quickly to see town. I guess I could search for,
there were paragraphs down through where you were going, and it said the town.
Like village board,
like
town
this
board.
part seems strike, you know, where you could strike something and make it for a particular muni, but
Is this like some stock thing by Central Hudson, or
is it what? Is it a
like
requisite?
a format,
Yeah.
formatted document that other municipalities
No,
throughout?
this is really just to select that install/maintenance firm.
I mean, it seems pretty generic, like a,
Anyway, like I said, I just started to read this afternoon, and as far, one reason I brought it up tonight was the intention is to try to have this read and approved by everybody by the end of September 2017.
Should take about that much.
Yeah.
And it's vacation season, so we can print this out and read it on the beach, is that?
All
what you're
right,
saying?
yeah, so, but anyway, I was like, a little bit concerned that it's that long.
does each municipality have to approve this
Yeah.
separately? Wow.
So anyway, as far as status, what we're looking at is we can save huge amounts of money and to the tune of $40,000 to $45,000 per year if we own our own streetlights. We have run another financial model where we could borrow the money, stay within the current budget, and then start saving money in about 3 to 4 years. So it's still worth doing. It's just this is a huge piece. I think we have to read it. I have to read it first and then send it to our lawyer. Something. I just don't understand how it could be that long. But it seems when we've done an RFP, it's been 8 or 10 pages. Something in that range. And a lot of that's boilerplate, right? Jay, it's like text you just pull from somewhere. I just want to give you all an update on that. Village Green appointment, in his report, Brent had mentioned that one of his committee persons resigned to go look for employment or work or take employment in Boston. And so we would accept that resignation, and then he would like to fill a seat, and Brent had a person that we've met. I think he's been an active volunteer, right? Is that
Right.
Michael?
Michael Johnson lives in the village on Fraley Street, and he's been very active as a volunteer during tree planting times, and he did express an interest in joining the committee as officer, and so I'd like to nominate him for the position,
Okay.
the vacated position.
Could you
I'll do
restate
the
his
other.
last name? Is it
Michael Johnson.
Johnson? Yeah. Yeah, I've met him on the volunteer cruise, and I would think he'd be a good person, so.
Yeah.
I would say, for my level, I would say we should do it. Is there, I'd make a motion that we appoint Michael Johnson of Fraley Street as a member of the Village Green Committee. And it's a formal appointment where they come in and
Sign the book.
work with the village and everything. So I would offer that as a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Does he have to sign the book, or?
Not, they don't execute any authority, so I would say
All right.
no. It's just, we like to name them so insurance covers him if he's working on the street and hits somebody with a shovel or something like that. So, but,
We're a passive group. We don't-
I don't know. Let's see, so we did the Village Green appointment, DOT, Amherst Road intersection. Brent captured it pretty much in his monthly recap. Essentially, just to restate, since it's a rather important issue, we've, on the board, been reinvigorating our search for options there. And one of the outcomes, we're looking at why in the world, in this day and age, do we have to purchase, engineer, build a right-angle intersection to square up to Amherst? Isn't there technology and lighting, traffic lighting capability to forego that option and just make it happen with the configuration that's there? So we were researching that, and what Brent mentioned is this Poughkeepsie Transportation, it's now named the Dutchess County Transportation
Council.
Corporation
Council.
And their director offered to line up some DOT folks with us and see if we can convince them that that science might be out there or not. Because even if we did all those things, they still, the DOT still does what's called a traffic warrant, where they count and look and study, and then they decide if a light's going to go in. So we'd be throwing our money into something that might not happen, so we're trying to line it up a little better. But like he mentioned, just in case you missed it in his soft-spoken part there, the Poughkeepsie Transportation Council, Dutchess County Transportation Council is offering to put their traffic counting strips on Amherst and Firehouse Lane. They do certain other studies, mainly on county roads within the confines of the village, but they'll add two, two strips in an upcoming study, which would be good data to have. So I just want everybody to know that that's happening in some shape or form. Court grant, I threw that on there. It's the season. Usually Jonah comes in and gives us a pitch that the court grants are open and available. I think the deadline is October 18th this year. We've been successful in years past getting a lot of funding. It's as its title suggests, it's to be tagged or defined for something that benefits or improves the court operation. We can get some bulletproof vests in that with the fact the officers protect in the courtroom, so we'll put that in there. Then I was thinking the somewhat worn, I'll call them yellow carpets that are in the court chambers, and then the hall, and then the part of the clerk's office that serves at night for the prosecutor, special prosecutor's office. That can be feasibly put in there. So I thought that'd be good. We get a little chunk of replacement carpet because those smaller offices are getting worn out. Excuse me, I didn't bring my water. I'm getting dry throat. So I thought between those two things, and if you want to put your creative hats, we have a little time, but like we said, they have to be somewhat related to court or operations of the court. They don't pay for personnel type items. It's got to be more fixed type items. So, and I'm asking the local carpet shop to give us an estimate for those couple rooms. It'd be a little complicated because they're small and they're full of items, so I could envision it happening on a weekend or something when there's no action here and do the work, so we're not interfering with the day work of folks. I think it being August, it's the summer season here. We've been through the committee reports. We hit the 4 regular business items. We could ask the board for any general business that we didn't touch, anything on your minds, anything going on. If you could make, like I said, Friday, we've got, on one of your points, bond counsel coming on Phase 2 water. He's here at 10. CT Mail will be here at that time. We have Victoria coming in around 11:30.
Okay, I'll be here.
So kind of putting the push on to
Busy
close
day.
out Phase 2. And just so everybody knows, upstairs, we love getting the federal money, but the complications and complexities are amazing. I took what the USDA sends us as letter size requests, So we went to F&M Printing and made them into 18-inch by 24-inch exhibits, so to speak, and we've got them tacked on our wall up in the conference room. It's like the war room where we check off the remaining open items on, essentially, it's like going to a closing for your house, for when you buy a house. It's similar things, sort of mundane things. The project's done, it's just paperwork. So we're trying to figure out how to keep track of what we did, what we didn't do, and so if you go in our conference room, you'll see it. And we're gonna have everybody in there Friday trying to knock it off and get it done.
There's also another one you blew up of
Sewer project.
sewer project pre-bid items to take
Yeah,
care of.
there's 28 line items on that one, but that one we haven't quite, right now we're trying to close out water and then move to the other. We're still waiting here, Brent, we've got that WIA grant for, do we have any clue? Have you heard anything when those might be adjudged?
No.
or-
That'd be a good thing to ask, maybe CT Mail to check up on, but the last,
Yeah, when I talked to them today, I mentioned it to them.
probably September is what I hear.
Yeah. It's another acronym, Water Infrastructure Improvement Act.
Act.
something. It's the new word, the state, they refunded with some more money, water improvements, so.
We have, I think, two grants outstanding for that. For the water, we're eligible for 60% of the total cost of the project for Phase 2, which amounts to about $2.1 million, which would be great to get. And then for the sewer, we're entitled to apply for 25% of the capital project, so that's about just shy of $1 million there. So those would be grants if we get them.
So still waiting for those. Anyway, general business, I think we hit from our level.
Just to
And
confirm, we do not have a meeting on Thursday?
correct, we decided to cancel the workshop this week. It's a little bit the slow season, and I think we're hitting everything we need to tonight. And then out into the public comment world. Anything out there from Mr. Pearson? We have a process where to get you live so you can be heard, you have to take it. Yeah, and if you don't mind being, just go over by the podium. Can you?
Have to push anything?
It should be on. Give it a chest, 1, 2.
I'll step out of the light here.
A little closer.
My favorite subjects,
Be a little closer to your mouth so they can hear you.
okay. Can you,
Push a little button up there, Mr. Pearson. See like a small little tab? Yeah, and give it a tap
Okay.
on, give it a hit.
How's-
Yeah, it's on. Just talk louder.
okay, I'll talk louder. I'm a passive guy. My favorite two subjects, I'd like to see some police presence on Park Avenue for speeders once in a while. I know when I see a policeman on a road in a certain spot, I never forget that they're there, that they've been there. And so I slow down, I stay within the limits. I'd like to see some presence on Park Avenue once in a while, so maybe people can get the idea that they shouldn't go above 30, 35. And the other subject is, we have 3 crosswalks on south of the light on Route 9. It'd be nice to get a crosswalk near CVS, so we could cross there safely. That's it.
Okay, we thank you, and I guess we could react a little bit. Yeah, Park Avenue, the good and bad part is if you put them there, obviously, they probably could park in Church Street Extension and just be a presence, you know? And then, but we could bring that to them. What we're looking to do is trying to figure out a way with the town, I call them the speed trailers, those portable radar trailers, you know, where we borrow one periodically from Rhinebeck, but it's not always at our disposal type of thing. So they're about $7,000 or $8,000, and what's nice, they count cars, they give a graphic study of speed, and it's a really nice data tool to have. And I talked to the police people about trying to find a way to fund one. We're talking with the town. Town's in the budget sequence shortly, so we're trying to figure out a way. We'd share it somehow, put it on town roads and village roads. Yeah, I don't get the speeding. I mean, unfortunately, Park is wider than almost every other village street, and people can get going fast on it. It's a,
We've got a county road and a state road.
yeah, it's like a
highway.
yeah, it's, but we could do that. And then on the crosswalks, we know in years past, we have looked at north of Broadway options. I don't know if we went up as far as the current new CVS.
You're looking at
we're looking at
one between the post office,
Yeah.
the old CVS, and that one, when we got basically the ERA funding, right, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, we had DOT here, and that was slated to do it, but it wasn't possible because of where the curb cuts were located and also where the drainage system is. So this was prior to the new CVS location up there. So it's something we could revisit right now. We're still trying to get these. These are all done through a grant, through a STP grant for small municipalities, DOT grant, federally funded project, similar to what the town sidewalks being funded for. We're trying to get the signals put on as another grant as soon. So we'll keep our eyes open for grants and
Yeah, because
put one in.
related is, Brent mentioned the FAST grant, FAST. You came in late, but we're trying to illuminate strobe type flashers, the current mid-block crosswalks with a pedestrian controlled button. I think up there you're definitely that because people are coming in off the 50 to the 40 to the, you're coming at a faster speed up there. The weird rule, and we can work with it though, is the state of New York, that's a DOT highway, so they have to approve and different things on what we do there. We just can't go paint one. And that same meeting we're having on the Amherst Road, that side of traffic issues, we can bring it up. As a related thing, you might remember we pushed in late June to state DOT to repaint the current DOT crosswalks because they're faded, especially by the schools, different areas. They plow off, they traffic off, and they assured me they would do them. They had a contract issued, the subcontractor was out, and we thought they'd have them done before the school year ended. And it didn't happen. Then we checked in. They said, oh, it was a rainy, remember late spring rain, and okay. And July happened, and nothing. Then I just came back from vacation here mid-August, and the first day I drove in, I said, they didn't do it yet. So I reached out this morning and made some calls. What's going on? It sounded like the contract issued, they're around, and, it's, 1 year we forced them to come in. I think it was for this one here or something. It was just, putting no pressure on them. They brought a contractor in just for that one. He happened to be somewhere nearby, meaning I'm pointing to Prince Street here. And so I don't think they'll just go and paint a non-existing one for us. I think they would need to do it, but we can certainly bring it up at that meeting. We'll bring it up to the Dutchess County Transportation Council.
It would have to be, ADA accessible, and it's all on DOT right away. So it's a process. And DOT is one of those agencies with a lot of bureaucracy.
Yeah, I tell the story. We went for our FAST grant. That's to light up the crosswalks now, and we had received $88,000. We thought that was a lot of money. We went down to DOT. They're like, "Oh my God, this is like nothing to them." They didn't want to really even deal with it. But so that's where we rolled it over to a different program. But anyway, I'll make a note to the PD, something on Park, and we'll see what we can do with the other thing. Thank you. Anything else? I show almost 8:10. I think we're done with work. We usually have to pay bills, and the vouchers are here. I went through them. I think we have signatures. So we'll do a motion to pay bills after audit. Is there a second on that?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I think even though it's earlier than usual, I think we'll adjourn. And we'll let Mr. Kovalchuk, you want to do that?
I would. I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this evening's meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good night, everybody.